Welcome back to M and
Here I am, S, and we had a hiatus for a week, and we're back. Now you guys know how it feels to have no media for a full week, and now we're back just to show you how much you love us, and now here we are. So, either way, M&S, we're going to do, we did this last year, a format.
PTI edition.
PTI, if you're not familiar, basically we're going to do 2-minute segments on everything that we're going to be discussing, and this way it's going to be concise, to the point, and then we get on to the next, and everyone goes home happy.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about, which is why we choose this edition. We're going to go through matchups, go through future, go through playoff scenarios.
We're going to touch them all.
Yeah, we got a lot.
So now let's press start, and here we're off to the races.
First matchup was the Orioles versus the Brewers. I want to concentrate on the Orioles for the fact that the Brewers played later. So.
Right, so let's talk about the Orioles a little bit. I think they were plagued defensively. Shimmy Cohen is having a hard time at short, which last year he did not.
Because he's making the most incredible defensive plays.
Right, and the routine one's getting by him. I think they moved JoJo to short now.
I think that's what's going to happen. JoJo may pitch short.
And
Shimmy
you know what's
may
funny?
go.
Shimmy says he's a natural infielder, but I think he's much better in left field, right field.
He happens to be one of the fastest guys in the league, and when he played right field for Norwood years ago, he was incredible. He's a real outfielder as well. But I think they dabble in that, and they need help in the outfield.
I'm saying one of the reasons they're struggling is that, but another one is actually their captain, David Arara, who usually actually hits at night, is having a hard time at the plate this season.
I think the light bulbs would change this year, and he thinks it's the daytime.
No, I think what actually happened was, now that he's captain, I think he has too much going on. Listen, he's a great captain, but I think it's affecting him at the plate.
Yeah, their team, they didn't get swept, by the way. Right?
No, they got swept.
They got swept. I'm sorry.
They blew 2 games.
Cha-ching, a little spaced out. They had more than a 2-run lead in both games, and they blew it. So you want to put a little bit on Ralph? I think it was more the defense. Ralph did pitch strong. They were blaming some veteran missing.
Yeah,
right?
they said they were missing a veteran, and they said that even though that's no excuse because they have other veterans. 3-time champion David Shrem is on their team, actually leading the league in hitting. Billy Miz, #2 in hits in the league.
In the league for 7 years.
Come on.
David Arara is in the league for 5-6 years already.
No excuse. They're talking about the older veteran, 50-year-old plus type of guy, but they have that also. I don't think they have an excuse. I think they're going into the game, they were 3-1, correct?
They were looking at first place.
And they were talking all high, we're the best team in the league, and then I think they took the kids for granted, which everyone does subliminally, even if you think, oh no, they're good. When you get into that game, you're not thinking I'm going against these battle-tested guys. Well, we're going to move on to the next matchup right now. Let's push start. And the next matchup is the Pirates versus the Tigers.
This was a good matchup. I wasn't there for this, but...
So I'll talk about it because it was more or less my night that I was there. Mark Cohen pitched really, really well. I'm going to highlight a few things. Saban, in Game 1, didn't hit great, but in Game 2, hit some bombs in the gap, like vintage turn-back-the-clock Saban. Natan Safdie, when I'm watching him play, I feel like he relies too much on his legs. He'll hit a weak chopper to second base and beat it out. But I feel like when the speed erodes, when he gets older, he won't be the same. What do you think about that?
I hear you at times, but the truth, the game I did with Natan, I don't remember how many hits he had, but he was roping the ball.
No, he got a lot of hits. I'm just saying, I've seen him hit with authority.
I've seen him hit nice line drives to left center field.
I like to take something back that we were discussing. We said that Mikey Shamek is the fastest kid in the league. Natan's the fastest kid in the league.
Yeah, he has got the greatest.
And he's had to prove it now that we actually called him out on it. One more thing I wanted to mention.
Natan's a solid hitter.
Going into the season, we weren't high on these guys. It was also pre-trade. They did pick up a few players. They picked up Butchie Cohen, which is Shimmy's brother.
Right now, he was playing shortstop.
And he's hitting well. But it's funny he says he's playing shortstop. Let's not get to that. We'll get to that at the end. But I wanted to mention Benny Rishke. This team was looking around who could take the next step, who can elevate their game. And right now, being as if the season ends right now, but it's not because there's a lot of games to play, Benny Rishke leads the league in RBIs. Do you know that's a big stat?
And he plays a good third base.
I'm saying he took the next step, and because if he keeps up his play, they actually are a team with a lineup good enough to win.
So if him and Jabba, because Jabba I heard hit as well.
Right, he did 2 doubles in the gap.
Yeah, they could help Steven Asula not have to be the only 4-hitter on the team.
And actually, Asulan's scuffling majorly at the plate. He's not having to have a good year at all. So, also, there's one big note. David Farka, who was on that team after the trade,
6 for 8.
He had 6 hits. He had 3 RBIs, 4 RBIs, 3 runs. I don't know, big game. Either way, he no longer is on that team, and he's being replaced by Jordy Romel.
We'll talk about this a little bit more later.
And now we'll go on to the next matchup.
Oh, so now the Tigers played, and we didn't really speak about the Tigers, although they were in that last matchup.
The Tigers played the Padres.
So we're going to settle on the Tigers a little bit more this time.
Yeah, so the Tigers, the way their season is going right now, I don't know. Are they just getting long on the tooth, or are they coming together too late, or what's going on here?
So like you said, Michael Solomon, one thing about Michael, and it's something that, it's a good thing to see, he never really relied on speed. Never really relied his game on his glove. He's a first baseman, he's good. But it's his bat. And the way he hits translates...
We're talking about Saban of the Padres, of the Tigers.
The way he hits translates that he's still a hitter.
Right, he's hitting bombs. Ali, on the other hand, he was a little more of a speedster. He had more power. I think he's eroding a little bit, but he's still all-world. He's still a first-round
pick. Still a first-round player.
He's just not superhuman.
Right, you'll see a couple more ground balls to short in one day than you're accustomed to see.
In the old days, we used to say, why is he not hitting 1,000? But now I understand why he's not hitting 1,000. Listen, he's not young.
He's still a 500 type hitter, and he's still one of the best. Great at shortstop as well. But that team, defensively, they're okay.
They're not bad, but I think they're really relying heavily on the Saka boys. We have Charles and Elliott.
So Charles holds his own at third. Elliott's his first time playing center field.
Right.
And he always wants it. And I've heard him in the past say, I want to be the center fielder. He has his opportunity. I'm not going to tell you he's fumbling, but he's got to take grab.
We got to put it on. So, and also in that game, Michael Melech Solomon and the opposing team, the Padres, had another 2 or 3 putouts at the plate.
Wow.
I think he either has 9 or 10 on the year. He's having a spectacular defensive season behind the plate. But he didn't hit a lick that night.
Well, yeah, he didn't hit a lick. I wanted to... also point out, retract, Jojo Mamie, although the kid hasn't hit, I think the Tigers found their second baseman.
And you know what? They needed him.
Yes.
Him at second solidifies their infield.
That was their black hole.
But you know what? That's actually a very good point. They split, and we'll talk a little further on their playoff matchup in the next segment or two.
We're going to give the Padres their time because we didn't really give them much. But
and now,
on to that next
matchup. The next matchup, which was the last one we actually played, was the Brewers versus the Angels. The storyline going in was the young kids versus the old men.
Wow.
And let me tell you something about young kids versus old men. The young kids look young, and the old men look old. There are some quotes from seasoned veterans, such as
winners in this
winners in this community for years and years and years past, saying, "I got no juice left in my legs. Get me a runner." I see Norwood, the champion Norwood, the reigning champ Norwood, pulling a hamstring a week after he busts his ankle somewhere. Right. Listen, these guys are getting old. It was a joke in the past saying, oh, their team sponsor is going to be Depends or Cialis or Viagra. But you know what? Now I'm actually not kidding. This is a serious issue and concern for them. And who are the best players on their team?
You could say what you want. Factual. It's Jojo Soria.
Jojo Soria.
It's funny because I heard chirps on this team saying, I don't know if Jojo was the right pick or not.
You know what? If you look at the tape, look at the highlights.
I showed up to the field. He had 2 huge doubles.
And in game 1, he had a 2 RBI double.
With bases loaded.
And by the way, I just want to mention Isaac Norwood-Dueck. I don't want to throw you under the bus, but as you can watch from the highlights, the game was tied late in game 1, and you threw a ball away at first base. Inexplicably, you held on to the ball. You had 2 outs, runner on third with Sammy Reyes.
Isolated plays, but I want to say, and Jojo Soria is fast, and if he's cranking the ball the way I saw him, he was hitting the ball hard. And it was against a good pitcher.
Even his outs were hard.
Yeah, I saw a line drive.
But also, let's give major credit to one more person, and he also is getting his fair bashing. It's Freddie Hittery. Freddie Hittery pitched 2 well games, and the week before when they collapsed, he also had a 13-inning stretch where he pitched well. I know the wheels came off, but actually in this game against these young upstart kids, Joe Greenberg mashing the ball, and
Mo D coming into his
and all these
Little Zolta.
They have a good hitting team. Freddie Hittery shut him down. I just want to do one quick thing on the Brewers. Joe Greenberg made a flat-out diving catch in left field. Al D made a crazy catch up against the fence in left field. Their defense is why they are who they are, and their pitching is also /defense. Eddie Nissim / his pitching defense is also why they're
defensive pitcher in the league.
And it's not even a question. So
I know Ralph Hannon says he's good there, and he is, but
no one comes close to Eddie Nissim's defensive prowess.
He those balls at the
now we're going to actually move on.
I just wanted to give a web gem segment.
Okay, so
go with the highlights.
Let me press start over here. Go ahead.
Ruby Saka, I gotta say, in outfield, I mean, he's not much of a hitter, and I don't think he got at bats this week, but He may have overran a ball or two that could cost runs, and he's going to learn. But he made he made the best defensive play of the season.
So I heard about this. I wasn't even there. I was getting texts from people at the field. Did you hear about Ruby's catch? So
Victor Shrem hit a flat-out monster shot down the left field line, and Ruby laid out full extension, diving catch. Greenberg, as we mentioned.
Greenberg, as you saw in the highlights, he robbed Ray, and that was the game in game one.
That's maybe why Greenberg's gets the top number one, just because of the situation.
No, it was 2-1. It was I think it was a 1-run game or something, and he made a diving catch in the left center field gap. It was for sure 2, possibly 3. I don't know how Ray runs, but you never know. And also, as we mentioned, Aldi's catch up against the gate was also pretty strong.
And now, not a web gem per se, but just a call out defensively. Jackie Cohen.
Oof.
I'm going to go far to say I think he's in the top 4 defensive shortstops in the whole Syrian community.
Let me tell you something about Jackie Cohen.
Defensive shortstops.
I'm glad you mentioned Jackie because the Padres are one lucky team. Those guys got so lucky that they found that Jackie Cohen steal at the end of the draft because, as Max said, listen, he's not a terrible hitter. He's actually a pretty good hitter. Better than I thought.
He's got a lot more to prove at the plate.
No, but he's better than I thought at the plate. But defensively, he's a whiz. He eats everything up. He's got a strong arm.
It doesn't always look as sexy as you think, but I haven't seen him botch a routine play.
No, he's good.
Which happens often in all leagues.
He eats up the ball.
He's got a lot of range going to his backhand, and his arm is amazing. Maybe that's his only thing that could get erratic once in a while.
A few more defensive plays I wanted to mention. One of them was Sammy Red with a big scoop at first base.
Big play.
That actually saved an inning. That was actually one of the reasons why they won that game as well. And is there anything else defensively that we would like to speak about?
I mean, the matchup. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Jojo Mamie defensively played a very strong second base, showing that team that
one more catch.
Okay.
Ike Chasanoff made a flat-out diving catch in right center field. On Joe Greenberg.
Very strong catch.
Now we're going to move on to the playoff picture/format, which a lot of you are asking about. Nothing changed.
We had the format set. People maybe don't listen or choose to ask again. But it's similar to last year. Again,
There's one tweak.
Right.
So as we know, as Max is alluding to, the 4 plays the 5 in a 1-game wild card, 9-inning. Usually it's a classic. If you look at the highlights over the last 3-4 years, always something crazy goes down.
For some reason, the fact those extra 2 innings make the game turn into a circus.
No, you have all the pressure compacted into one game. You feel like every single inning has a playoff atmosphere.
So, which is all the more reason why seeding in our league is tremendous to get to that 3 seed.
And
do your best to get out of that 4 seed. You don't be cozy. Oh, we're in the playoffs. Yeah, you're right. You're in a playoff game, but one game, the better team does not always win.
And there's one change to the playoff formatting system. We actually pulled it earlier in the year on the website. Is now this year the number 1 seed has an opportunity to pick his opponent for his first round matchup.
So technically, he could pick the 2 seed before the 3-4 play.
If they feel like the 2 seed is a weaker opponent, because right now the way the records are, it's everything is really, really tight. It could be a 1-game difference.
They might look at a pitcher they want to see.
Right. So he could pick them, or if they don't pick him, if they pick the 4 seed, then fine, so be it. But there's one caveat to it. If they don't comply with the deadline that we set to pick opponent,
we make the call.
It'll go by seeding. 1 plays 4, 2 plays 3. Just you have the choice for whatever the deadline. We'll talk about
now. That 4-5 game is shaping out to be. It could be one of 3 or 4 teams. Obviously, there's still a lot of season to go, but that is the format. 5 plays 4, a 1-game 9.
Well, there's not that much season to go. We only have 5 more regular season nights.
Right.
3 this coming week,
matchups.
And then 2 in the week after that. And the next segment, the final segment, we'll be talking about these upcoming 3 matchups that is going to be actually shaping the season and taking place. What's going to happen next week?
Let's do it. Next week's games. Game 1.
Yeah, this is going to be great. It's the Orioles.
I can't wait.
The Orioles versus the Padres. Orioles fell to 3-3, and the Padres are 4-2. They're both technically playing for first place.
Yeah, and both technically speaking, the Orioles really more, with only having 3 wins, are could be in last place if they lose out.
Yeah, so every single game is precious at this point.
This is Ralph Hannon and company on the mound with David Arari, Maurice Haber, who I hear is going to make his presence felt Monday night.
They need his veteran leadership, as I'm told.
The poker table may have one less player. But whatchamacallit.
No, so
looking forward, what do you think about this game?
I think this has a split written all over it because both teams are playing for too much. There's one thing I wanted to mention. I saw there's some rumblings going on in the Padres organization that they weren't aware going into this week that they had 2 games this week. Listen, we put out a schedule in June for a reason.
Yeah.
You're supposed to plan accordingly, and we're going to see which of their top superstars don't attend.
I think there's a couple of prima donnas that are trying to get the game moved.
I'm actually going to call them out. Saul Cohen and Michael Cohen, their first 2-round picks, talking about prima donnas, saying, "Oh, we weren't aware that we're playing. Who plays to?" Listen, you can't wake up a day before the week and saying, "Let's make switches."
Well, I think
subs if needed.
I think Monday night they're both going to be there, and I think the Orioles are going to win too.
You think they're going to win too?
Yeah, I think the Orioles. I think Ralph Hannon's going to come to pitch against these guys. I think he's going to mow down the back of the lineup. Now, as we know, the Padres usually go and don't go with Michael Cohen. Game 1 last week against Maxi Deed, he was 0 for 4.
Listen, Michael has proven that he is the X factor of the league if he plays well.
One of my favorite lines last week was Michael Cohen got out. Avi Dweck, who had a good night, went 4 for 5. Michael's like, "Let me get on first and run right away." And Michael Solomon looked at him, thought about it, Melech Mike, and said, "If you want to run, get a hit."
There you go.
Just like that. And I think Ralph Hannon's going to do a good job.
All right, let's see who's going to be proven right on that one. Next matchup is, this is to me, the entire season on the line for both these teams, although theoretically it's not. Because the Orioles are 1-3, Tigers are 3-5.
It is literally for the Tigers.
If Tigers get swept, their season's over.
Yes.
Officially. You can put the nail in the coffin, finish, say goodbye to Ali, Saban, Yedid, and company.
They can go home, play golf, not even scoreboard watch.
But right, and the Angels, though, they're coming into this 1-3. They have a lot of uncertainty after they've been questioning themselves over the last few weeks whether they have the legs, whether they have enough youth. But like we said before, I think if anyone's going to be carrying these guys, it's going to be the likes of Jojo Saruya, Ralph Chira, Ancona, these type of guys.
I'd like to think and I'd like to imagine that.
Not carry them, but they're going to be...
I'd like to think and imagine that the veterans, going against other veterans and Ali, Saban, seeing guys that they've been playing with, and knowing that really their seasons, their backs are to the wall, I'd like to think these guys are going to come to play. Maybe they'll drink a Red Bull before the game and be a little excited.
They need more than a Red Bull. They need 3 Viagra to stay up in the batter's box. So I'm just letting you know how I feel.
But now, if it's a split, I mean, nothing's over, and everybody's still where they were, status quo. The Tigers' season would be over, and they'd be scoreboard watching at 4-6. Could they get to that 1-game playoff at 4-6?
Yeah,
I think mathematically, yes, and it could happen. Is it likely?
No. So
probably not likely.
Listen, bottom line, the Tigers need to win 2. And if they win 2, the Angels will be 1-5. So a lot is going down into this
If the Tigers win 2, I think they pretty much are in that at least 1-game
playoff. Yeah, they'll be 5-5 to end their season.
And they have the head-to-head on an Norwood team that would be 1-5.
So listen, we'll see. It's going to be. It's kind of nerve-wracking that. I can't wait to highlight that game and see what goes down. There's going to be a lot
of course, if the Angels win 2, they're 3-3 in the driver's seat with the head-to-head win on somebody with a lot of season to go.
And then the final matchup of the week will be the Padres versus the Pirates.
Wow, now the Padres are playing a second time.
Right.
They're playing twice this week.
And like I said, who's going to show up? We'll see.
Wow. So this Wednesday night game, we already know, I think Avi Dweck has a business trip.
He does.
He's going to be away on.
I think Michael Cohen's missing game 1.
Wow.
And solely Cohen's not going to be there because he's a prima donna.
Okay, well, let's find out. They'll have their do subs. We don't usually like talking about that stuff. We just heard about it the other day, so it's on our heads. But now the Pirates at 3-3 haven't played in a long time.
Right.
I think it was a blessing in disguise because Mark Cohen was ailing a little bit.
Well, Mark Cohen pitched like 140 innings in a week.
Yeah, so
because he's in like every league, including the women's league. So I don't know what's going on with that.
So he had a very good break. I saw him the other day, and his hamstrings, and his body, and his belly, and everything's better.
Yeah.
So I think it was a big plus for them that he had a nice little break. And
listen, Mark Cohen is second in the league in strikeouts. He's 2 behind Yedid, but he's also leading the league in walks. So Mark Cohen is Mark Cohen. He's effectively wild. When he's on his game, he's just unhittable, or you're walking, or if you want to hit him, go the other way, that's in my opinion.
Now, I think this team suddenly, their infield defense really scaled up majorly, because Ben Kane was
I want to talk about Ben Kane.
unfreaking believable.
I forgot to
last
mention him in
time.
that defensive segment.
Yes, that's right.
Ben Kane played the best defensive second base in a 2-game span when I was there that night, as I've seen since,
really
I'm not even
long
kidding,
time.
including the great second baseman in our community, Elisa Carrier, this one, that one. Ben Kane was money. Over the shoulder
Right.
catches, everything. You
So
name
now,
it.
I don't want to say expendable. They might move him to short center field, because now with Jordy Ramel as an addition, instead of Farka, Jordy's going to be playing shortstop. Butchie Cohen, who's a great fielder in his own right on the infield, is going to probably go to second. Maybe he'll go to short center. All I'm saying is that infield defense...
They have options.
That infield defense really just went up a couple of notches.
So that kind of sums up everything that's going on in the league right now.
I'm calling a split, Padres, Pirates.
You know what's funny? I'm calling a Padres sweep that night.
Really?
Yeah, without their players.
Wow.
I'm calling a Padres sweep that night. I'm not feeling the Pirates. I feel like I should be, but you know, it's once again Balbino versus Mark Cohen, last year's drama.
Okay.
It's a little scaled back.
We didn't bring that up.
Yeah, but it's a little scaled back, but because we don't have that type of tension yet, at least going into the playoffs, maybe. But
Right.
I'm calling a sweep by the Pods that night with whatever subs they're bringing of the guys that they're missing and whatever it may be. Either way. Next time we will talk with you, it'll be at the end of the season previewing the playoffs. And you know what? If we're going to do that, let's talk.